listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Welcome into the GM Shuffle. The GM Shuffle is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. I am Geoff Schwartz, 8 years in the NFL, alongside Marty, Hurney, 30 years in NFL front offices. And we have a busy show to get to. Today, we have to preview the Week 10 games. We also look back to Tuesday's trade deadline, which saw a lot of action, Marty. We talked previously into what we expected to see, and we got it. We got a lot of fireworks. We'll talk about where these teams stand. I feel like a couple of teams lied themselves a little bit about where they are. We'll talk about those teams. But first, some tragic news in the NFL this morning. Marshawn Nealon, the defensive end for the Dallas Cowboys, 24 years old, tragically passed away, Marty. And I know you scouted him coming out, and you know about his journey to get to where he's at.
Yeah, that was so sad, Geoff. What a great kid, and stayed at Western Michigan. He's a self-made guy. He just got better every year, and he could have gone to Colorado, I think, in 2022. And really was loyal and stayed at Western Michigan and really improved his draft stock every year. And he went in the second round, but he was just a tremendous kid, and it's extremely sad news.
He did score a touchdown Monday night for the Cowboys in their loss to the Cardinals. And there'll be more news coming out about this tragic passing. We have our thoughts with him, the Cowboys, with his teammates. I know that can't imagine the locker room right now. I've, fortunately not been in that spot before, Marty, but thoughts are with those guys. No easy way to get to the rest of the NFL news, but we did have a trade deadline that we saw some action at the very end of Tuesday, Marty. And I want to start with the trade that saw Sauce Gardner go from the New York Jets into the Indianapolis Colts for 2 first-round picks. And A.D. Mitchell, the wide receiver, went from the Colts to the Jets as well. A couple of things here, Marty. My high school football coach, he gave me the best advice I've ever had in my life, okay? He said, don't lie to yourself. That was his advice. He tells us all the time, like, don't lie to yourself. You know if you're putting in the work. You know if you're playing hard. You know if you're doing the little things, right? Are you lying to yourself about how you're doing? Right. And the Colts are lying to themselves with this trade. And I'll tell you why, Marty. They're committing to Daniel Jones. Wait, that was my first thought. And that's where I land here, because trading 2 first-round picks essentially takes away your ability to get a quarterback in the future. And people will say, well, they can get a quarterback later. Not really. 3 quarterbacks right now in the National Football League that are franchise contract after the first round. That's Dak Prescott, that's Jalen Hurts, and that's Brock Purdy, right? And it's hard to follow them after the first round. And trading away 2 first-round picks next year's the year after that signals to me that they're all in on Daniel Jones. And I don't know how you can make that decision after 9 games, Marty. I know it's going well. It's a long NFL season. And is he the guy that you think, in addition of Sauce Gardner and Daniel Jones, gets you to the promised land of winning a Super Bowl? I don't, Marty. And I think this trade, to look back on it and realize committing to Daniel Jones was not the right way. I get it from their perspective, right? Like I sort of understand, right? Like you're playing well right now. You're 7-2. You need another cornerback. You get a young one under a good contract from the Jets. I think Sauce will play better in Indianapolis, right? It's when you're on a bad team, it gets very easy your play gets depressed because of it, right? I think he'll play better, Marty, being on a better team. I think it's absolutely true. But is Sauce Gardner and Daniel Jones and what you have built, are you going into Buffalo and winning a playoff game and then having to go play the Chiefs and then maybe play the Ravens? Like I don't see it, Marty. I think the Colts got over leveraged here. I didn't like the trade for them.
Yeah, see, I was opposite. I like the trade. Listen, they've had enough time to know whether Daniel Jones is their guy or not. And who would you rather have, Geoff? Daniel Jones, or even if they had a first-round quarterback? 50% of them don't produce. I think that Shane Steichen has confidence in Daniel Jones. He knows how he works. He knows what he does well. He knows what he doesn't. He's coming off a bad game against the Steelers. So, obviously, your point is well taken and very legitimate. But I do think that they are bought into Daniel Jones, and in Sauce Gardner, they get a guy that you don't get those guys. He was the fourth overall for a reason. You don't get corners that can take away half the field. So I like the trade. I think that my impression, and I don't know, but my impression was that the Jets weren't looking to trade him, but I think the Colts called with an offer that they could not refuse. And, we'll talk about the Jets in a minute as far as what
Yeah.
their thought process was for trading he and Quentin Williams. But I like the trade. I mean, they're going to be a low first rounder this year. And obviously, Chris Ballard thinks that they're going to have a low pick the following year. So you don't get much chance to get shut down corners like this. So I liked it.
Where do you see in Sauce? Because obviously, look, the first 2 years, all pro, the next 2 years, just not as good. And maybe again, that's because it I I know it sounds maybe I mean it does sound like it would happen this way, but when you play in a bad team, Marty, sometimes it's hard to play as good as you can. It just I think that's not a great excuse because I've been on a bad team and I still play as hard as I could, and I know all my teammates did as well. But it does feel like at times when you're on a bad team that does drag down your ability to perform at a high level. I do expect him to play his best football in Indianapolis. Do you expect the same?
Yeah, he had a down there last year. I thought he was playing better this year. It's a skill set you just can't find. Yep. I mean, it's a rare skill set. So it's not as quite a rare skill set as quarterback, but it's up there. So yeah, I think he's going to come in and play extremely well.
The Colts have the Falcons in Germany this weekend. Then they're off. They play the Chiefs. Got a couple of division games with the Seahawks. I got the 49ers as well. They're itching for the 1 seed. Can they accomplish their goals if they don't have the 1 seed? They have to go through Buffalo. Do you expect this team to make a Super Bowl if that's the path?
Well, I've said I think in the AFC the home field is very important, and if Buffalo gets the home field as the 1 seed, they're going to be very difficult to beat. But I think it's also a progression. And look at how far the Colts have come from last year to this year. I think they have a chance to be competitive in the playoffs. Do I think they're going to get the number 1 seed in the home field? No, I do not. Their schedule does get tougher, but their offense, I mean, I don't think we should just dismiss them because of the way they played against the Steelers last week. I mean,
Of course,
we've
no.
seen
No.
we've seen a pretty good sample size of what they can do this year, and I think that they feel like they have a very balanced offense with some explosive players. So I think they're going to be a factor in the playoffs. I do not think they'll get the number 1 seed. No, right now I think Buffalo's going to be the number 1 seed.
I'm curious about their game against Kansas City in a few weeks. That'll be a good tell for where they're at. That game will be outside in Kansas City. I believe it's a night game as well. Like that'll be a big dog game. Chiefs off a bye as well for that game. No, excuse me, they won't be. They play Denver first, and then they play Indianapolis. But it'll be a good test for the Colts in that game. Another trade involving the Jets. Quentin Williams, defensive tackle, went from the Jets to the Cowboys for Maisie Smith and a first-round pick. Marty. So my wife works full time. She's a wife, right? She has kids, works full time, and yet for whatever reason, she always seems to want chaos in her life, and she always wants to be doing something, and always feels the need to like spend and go out and shop and just like never just sit still in her life, right? Especially in the weekends, Marty. That's Jerry Jones, right? Jerry Jones has a full-time job. He runs the Cowboys. He has a fulfilled life, I think. Sounds like it. He's plenty busy. And then he just needs chaos in his life. He can't just be still as a Cowboys owner because this trade doesn't make them any different, except they lose a first-round pick. I don't understand how this gets them any closer to their end goal of being a Super Bowl champion, which is what they want to do, obviously, by trading away a first-round pick for a defensive tackle that has not been producing with the Jets. I think he's got 1 sack and 3 pressures all season, Marty. He's not been playing very well. Plus, they added a linebacker who got benched by the worst defense in maybe NFL history. Marty, I feel like the draft picks for the Cowboys is the reason why they traded away Parsons, right? Like they traded away Parsons to get the draft picks to sort of rebuild. And now they've traded away one of those draft picks for a guy who doesn't really, to me, constitute a rebuild. I feel like Jerry needs to feel this sort of chaos in his life. Otherwise, why would make this trade?
Well, my experience, Jeff, is when you make bad decisions, they snowball, right? I think you would agree with me. I think trading Micah Parsons was a bad decision. Okay,
Yes.
they took Mozzie Smith in the first round in 23, I believe it was. That was a bad decision, right? They threw him in the last minute in the trade. So you're always trying to recover, and it never seems like you can. Okay, it's just once you make those bad decisions, you kind of have to stop chasing them. And I think what the Cowboys are doing is they're chasing those bad decisions to try to make them right. And I just think that's very hard to do. Now, from the Jets' perspective, I really like what the Jets did, Jeff. And this is what I hope happen is listen, owners are always in any type of trades that include these type of players, high profile players. The owner is involved, and I'm hoping this was a triangle decision where Woody Johnson and the head coach, the general manager, got together, and they basically have said, and listen to the comments that Woody Johnson has made last few weeks. He gave his support to Aaron Glenn, being a Jet, knowing him for a long time. He kind of trashed Justin Fields, said it'd be nice if they could complete a pass. So now I think they get together and they say, okay, listen, this league is a quarterback league and you have to score points. So we have to get as many draft picks as we can to get a quarterback, to build offensive players around him and change the makeup of our team. Aaron Glenn is a defensive coach. We're going to depend on him to build the defense like he wants to build it, but we are going to put our picks on offense and rebuild this team.
I 100% agree with you. You cannot be good until you have a good quarterback. And I understand trading away young defensive players might not be great, but you need a quarterback. And you can't win with those young defensive pieces unless you have said quarterback. And I like what they did. I love it. If you had told me they would have had 3 first-round picks for those 2 players a week ago, they would have said, yes, sign me up for that. And so they got those guys. Let's talk a little bit more of the trade deadline, Marty, some of the moves we did like. We'll do that next. Jim Shuffle, presented by DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
We're back on the GM Shuffle, getting into some more NFL trade deadline reactions. We'll also get to our Week 10 preview. Not the best slate of games, so we have a lot more time talking about some of these trades here. Marty, I'm going to put an end cap quickly on the Jets discussion. So this is going to benefit the team moving forward, absolutely. But I think this year, they're like, this is bad for the locker room. And again, I think you have to walk a fine line between, as a general manager, you could talk about this in a second, of the players' needs, but also the needs for the long term, right? Where, in the present, you want to make the guys happy in the locker room, but that's not really your job. Your job is to build a winning team, and those sometimes are conflict, right? You also have edicts from ownership, and very clearly, Breece Hall and Johnson are not happy about still being on the Jets. So they're 2 young players that are really left. They wanted to be traded. Breece Hall said that. He told someone that. It was reposted. It was deleted. Johnson tweeting about how he sad to see his brothers go, kind of wish he was on the go too. And I think this is going to crush their locker room. They're already bad. They might not win many games moving forward, but in the end, their general manager did what was best for the team in the future. And so those 2 things can be true at the same time, Marty, where the locker room is crushed, but also the GM, I think, gets attaboy for what he did.
Yeah, Jeff, every move you make, the players are going to sit there, and everybody in the organization, the players sit there and say, how does this affect me? And basically the message is, listen, we are rebuilding for the future, and you better come out and show us that you're good enough to be a part of that. You're right, though. The immediate impact is they're taking away everything we have to win. They're not giving us what we need to win this year. So I was part of that in my last year at the Commanders when we traded Montez Sweat and Chase Young at the deadline, that are 2 defensive ends, and it hits the locker room. It really does. I mean, people say, wow, what are we doing here? Obviously, you're building for the future, but I think that if the Jets are in the mindset that we talked about, and they have that reason of, listen, we need a quarterback, we need to build offense, I think it was the right move, but I think it will be very hard this season.
I mean, unfortunately, you've been part of that a few times. One of those was owner mandated. The other one was maybe a little different.
I always worry when you get that little smirk. I know it's coming.
We
But,
will eventually spend time on 2010. You know what's the thing about 2010 is, like, we played our asses off though. Like, we played hard that year. We just weren't good enough. But I think the Jets are still going to play hard. But you always do wonder about the mindset of players openly complaining on the internet. I mean, not being traded. Like, that's not great. I know it's different. I know the players are different now, and they voice their frustrations and their emotions, good and bad, honestly, on the internet more than ever before. But I just think psyche-wise, you're already bad, and these guys want out. I would have traded Breece Hall. The report was Kansas City offered a fourth for Breece Hall. They wanted a 3. I mean, Marty, Breece Hall's walking at the end of the season, most likely are going to franchise tag it, which feels like a fool's decision anyways. But shouldn't you have taken the 4? Like, why not take the 4 for Breece Hall?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the difference here with the Jets is they traded 2 guys that had contracts left. Usually when you're doing this, you're trading guys whose contracts are up at the end of the year, and you want to get something for them. And especially, we'll talk about the compensatory system here in a minute when we get to the Chargers. But it's going to be, we're going to find a lot out about Aaron Glenn and how what command he has of this locker room, how they come out and play with energy. Listen, they might not be good enough. They might not win another game, but we want them to see him come out and play with energy and play hard. And I think we'll learn some things about Aaron Glenn over the next 8 weeks or so.
We certainly will. One more trade, and then we'll get to, I think, our favorite trade, or both our favorite trades. Jacksonville has a young general manager, and he traded up in the draft for Travis Hunter to be a multi-position player who's now hurt, unfortunately. And then he traded two picks, the 4th round pick and a 5th round pick. Excuse me, I'm reading the wrong one. He traded a 4th round pick and a 6th round pick for Jacoby Myers, the Raiders wide receiver. Why? Why, Marty? That feels like a very, very steep price for Jacoby Myers. Is Gladstone an FM picks guy? He's a Rams guy. For years, the Rams said FM picks, we're going to go trade for guys and make deals and whatnot. And they did win a Super Bowl doing it that way, but they've come around now and they're using the draft picks in a very smart way in Los Angeles. I don't get the trade, Marty. I don't know how this makes them any better than they already are. They need Lawrence to play better. They need their wideouts to catch the football. Maybe there's some injuries there, and they're concerned about that, and they need some depth there. But this feels like a very hefty price to pay when the Seahawks, and we'll talk about them in a second, got, I think, a much better player for essentially the same price.
Jacoby Myers had a lot of teams interested in him, okay? So that's where the price got to be the 2 picks. But again, if Travis Hunter was healthy and playing like they expected him to play when they traded up to get him with the 2nd pick, would they have made this trade? So it goes back to, bad decisions can snowball and lead to other bad decisions. I'm not saying this was a bad decision. I think Jacoby Myers is a very good player, but I don't like trading 2 draft picks. I don't like trading draft picks because I believe that that's how you win and build. So, but they reacted. Travis Hunter's on IR. They need a receiver. They go out and they pay a pretty hefty price because Jacoby Myers had a lot of suitors.
Well, look, I wish him the best of luck on this. I just don't know. I know they have a lot of picks for next year. I get it, but I think that's just a very hefty price for, I mean, at best, your 3rd wide receiver, right? Maybe 4th, everyone's healthy. I just think that's a very hefty price to pay for that. You can find a 4th or 5th wide receiver in the 4th round or 6th round, and just it was hefty. What's not hefty is VSiN Pro, though. Like we're hearing here in the GM Shuffle, there's even more VSiN Pro. Betting splits, power rating, sharp analysis, all offers $9.99 your first month. Go to vsin.com/subscribe. Check out all these subscription options. Marty, we've talked a lot about trades we did not like. The team who was doing the trading, not the team receiving the picks. The trade I liked the most was the Seahawks trade for Rashid Shaheed, the Saints wide receiver. They traded a 4th and a 5th next season for him. Seattle right now is playing very good football, but they don't have a wide receiver 2. JSN has nearly 1,000 yards receiving. The next best wide receiver is Cooper Kupp at about 290. Like that's a 300-yard gap between your number 1 option, your number 2 option. They got themselves a number 2 now, a player that can go deep. It's an 87-yard touchdown this season, a player that complements what their offense wants to be, right? They're a 12-13 personnel throwing the ball. This allows them to go 11 maybe now, but 12 with 2 really good wide receivers, Marty. I love this trade for Seattle. I don't know if I'm upgrading them to like be the 1 seed, but there's some serious consideration. I think Seattle, the way their schedule breaks out, the way they're playing, but their consideration to be a 13-4 team right now. And this trade, I think, really helps them do that.
Listen, they're in the hunt. I agree with you. This was a great trade. John Schneider always makes good trades, in my opinion. This is a guy that, he's got 44 catches this year for 499 yards. He was a Pro Bowl return specialist. He's just going to make Jackson and Smith-Jigma that much better, and I think it just adds another ingredient to their offense that defense coordinators have to account for. So I thought it was probably the best trade of the draft. I do like what the Chargers did right at the last minute, Geoff, because they need offensive line help. And it was one of those 3:58 p.m. deals that they got out in the last minute and traded for Trevor Penning from the Saints. And basically the Saints Penning's contract is up this year, okay? And they obviously wanted to move him. I think they were trying to get the best they could. They couldn't get anything. The Chargers gave him a 7th-round pick, and the Saints took it because they're going to be active in free agency this year. And everybody says, well, why didn't you let him go and get a compensatory pick? Because if you sign more players than you lose, you're not eligible for compensatory picks. And they know, I like it because they have a plan. They know they're going to be active in free agency. They got a guy who has played left tackle, right tackle, left guard. He is an intense, physical, mean player. I mean, he just plays with all the energy that you want to see. He's physical. He's got position flexibility. I think this helps the Chargers on the offensive line. And the Saints, they weren't going to get anything for him. They were going to let him go, so they took a 7th.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for the Chargers here. I've been disappointed with Penning's development, Marty. I thought he's a guy that had a chance to, overcome some of the technical concerns with his game. He at times was like too physical, right? Getting penalties in college and whatnot. I like that from a small school guy. When I watch small school guys, I can't wait for draft season to talk about all this with you. And I watch like small school offensive linemen. I got to see you, Trevor Penning. I got to see you dominate. You have to physically overwhelm your opponent, which he did a lot. It just never really translated to the NFL. He was hurt a little bit, which didn't help. I think him as offensive line coach didn't really see eye to eye in New Orleans as well. So the Chargers need him. They host the Saints, the Steelers this weekend. They're 3-point favorites. We have seen the on-off numbers for Joe Alt for this offense when he is out. It has been tough. I got to imagine it's better than nothing. I'm still concerned about the Chargers this weekend, Marty, but I think this makes a lot of sense for them to just add a competent tackle and hope he figures it out in Los Angeles.
Yeah, he's a Jim Harbaugh type guy. I mean, he's just going to go 100% every play, limited athletically some, but he makes up for it in physicality. I've always liked the player, and I think it was a good get.
Quickly here, Kyler Murray has been placed injured reserve, Arizona Cardinals quarterback. It's felt like one of those where it was like, his foot, it's messed up, Marty. IR for you, sir, because he seems pretty healthy. He just got benched. What do you make quickly of Kyler Murray being benched?
Look at the timing. It was the day after the trade deadline that they put him on injury reserve, right? I mean, you can connect the dots. That one's not hard to do. I think that Kyler Murray's days in Arizona are probably over at this point.
Oh, they're probably over. Well, it's not over, though, is this show. We have not talked about our Week 10 previews for games. We'll get into that next. We'll start with a little bit of Thursday Night Football, then we'll get to the big matchups here of Week 10 on That's on the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Welcome back to the GM Shuffle. It's now time to get into our Week 10 game previews. Mario, we'll start with Thursday Night Football because it's on, and we're gonna have to watch it. I mean, I watch it. It might be a night to turn in early if you're on the East Coast. I'm gonna watch it though. It is the Broncos. They're by 9.5 over the Raiders here, and there are some pretty alarming stats when it comes to teams like the Raiders in this situation. They don't play well. So I'll give you this quickly here. 31 teams have played on Thursday Night Football following an overtime game like the Raiders had. They are 6-25 against the spread since 2020, and they're 3-60 against the spread on the road. That would be the Raiders, who played a full overtime game. They played every snap of that game. Remember, the Raiders scored there at the very end of the game, and then missed a 2-point conversion here. The thing that worries me about taking the Broncos to cover this game is that I don't think Bo Nix is good. Like that's my concern, Marty. Like he's fine. But is he 10 points better than any NFL team? Fine. They don't have Surtain on defense. The Raiders did show some life offensively against Jacksonville with Bowers being back. 10 points, 9.5. It's a lot of points, Marty. It's a ton of points in this game. I don't have anything for this one, but I would not surprise me if this was a touchdown to a field goal game.
Yeah, I'm always reluctant to give that many points in a division game, and I'm not going to touch this. I think the key here, Geoff, is the Broncos defense, right? And how many turnovers can they get from the Raiders? And how do the Raiders move the ball? How do the Raiders score against this defense? I don't see the Raiders being able to really mount any drives and keep the ball away from the Denver offense. I'm a little different than you are on Bo Nix. I think he's a second-year quarterback who continues to improve. And does he have elite skills? No. But the difference between him at Auburn and at Oregon is he has such a great command of the offense. The players respect him. They listen to him. He knows where to go with the ball. I think he is. I think he's a good enough quarterback to win with. They obviously have. And I just don't see how the Raiders move the ball against this Denver defense.
I like the optimism in you, Marty. It's that general manager. It's like we drafted this guy. I'm just like, he sucks. He stinks.
Well,
no good.
Okay, head up. The position's played from the head up, right? He's smart. Okay, he obviously.
I think he's fine. I think he's fine.
Sean Payton's system. But he and Daniel Jones, you and I have a little bit disagreement.
I think Bo Nix is fine.
How do you feel about Sam Darnold? How do you feel about Sam Darnold? I think he's
fine. He's playing good football. I think we all just are waiting to see if the pumpkin shows up in week 17 again. That's about what we're waiting for right now with Darnold, which is unfair, but that's what we're waiting for, Marty. We're waiting for that. We're waiting for the pumpkin to show up. We'll talk about Seattle a little bit later in our game previews. Listen to a game that I'm intrigued by this weekend, Marty. It's the Giants, 2-7 at the 3-5 Chicago Bears. The Giants are catching 4.5 points. I like the Giants a lot in this game, man. I like them a lot in this game. And look, they haven't been playing great ball in totality. The Scatterboo injury, we talked about it heading into last week, I thought would really affect them. But the Bears are fugazi 5-3. Like, let's be honest, okay? They beat the Raiders by 1, the Commanders by 1. They just won a game last week. They should have lost. We all saw the game, right? I think the Giants, with their defensive line, the Bears' offensive line is playing much better, can get into Williams, give him a little bit of trouble, give him a little bit of things to think about. I think the Giants' offense can just do enough in this game. I think 4.5 points is way too many points in this game. Their DVOA, their EPA, like all their advanced numbers, they're right next to each other. They're 23 and 24, Marty. So I have two teams playing very similar efficiency-wise. I'll take the 4.5 points with the Giants.
Yeah, 4.5 is too many for me to touch this game. But but I like the Bears. I like the Bears as a team. I have faith in Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. I said at the beginning of the year, Caleb Williams will start slow and get better as the year goes on. And listen, his stats. You look at his stat sheet; it's not great, but he's a guy who can make plays outside the pocket. And that's what he's going to have to do here, okay? He doesn't stand. That's the one thing that worries me so far is he doesn't stand in the pocket and go through his progressions, but he has that ability to get outside and make plays happen, which I think he's going to have to do against this Giants defensive line. So I like the Bears to win this game. 4.5 is kind of too much for me.
So I'll take the Giants here. Very quickly, I want to sneak in this game because I think it's interesting. So the Dolphins host the Bills. The Dolphins are favored by, excuse me, the Bills are favored by 9.5. Dolphins getting 9.5. Marty, I think years ago you would just take the Dolphins plus 9.5 and call it a day. But I feel like now you can't do that in the NFL in 2025. The Dolphins traded Jalen Phillips. They have not looked good for weeks. They can't score points. I do think that unlike the Chiefs, they will try to run the football in Buffalo and shorten the game up and attack the middle of the Bills defense. But, 31-10 feels like this written all over this game. I don't think the Bills are going to let up here. They're sniffing the 1 seed. Colts lost. They won last week. I think the Bills handle business here.
Yeah, I do too. I think that Chiefs game was a springboard game for them. And we hadn't seen the Bills play their best football up until last week, really, against the Chiefs. And I think that confidence just rebounds and goes forward. Miami's got so many questions, and I don't know. You certainly I could not take Miami in a 9.5. It's a little bit too many points for me to get, but I think Buffalo wins the game fairly easily as well.
All right, a huge game for both teams. The Ravens on the road at Minnesota. Ravens are favored by 4.5. The number keeps climbing. We saw the Vikings get a big win last week against the Lions. We saw the Ravens go on the road on Thursday Night Football and beat the Vikings. If the Ravens want to continue to climb up in the division, this is a big game for them. If the Vikings want to continue to play better with McCarthy, as we saw last week, this is a win they need to have. This number, Marty, feels so high right now. 3.5, I might have backed the Ravens. 4.5, probably not. Do you think what McCarthy did is doable and repeatable this week against Baltimore?
I do. I think him, and I think what I'm really going to be watching, Geoff, is Aaron Jones's injury report. He came back last week, suffered an AC joint. I think he's going to play, and when he plays, that running back tandem helps them immensely. Last week, the Vikings got several players back, in Andrew Van Ginkel and Christian Darrisaw, very important pieces for them. And you know me, in Kevin O'Connell, I trust, and I just think that they have the physicality. This is a team that Baltimore's not going to come in and push them around physically. No way. This is a physical Vikings team. I not only like them getting the 4.5, I think they have a chance to win the game. I am not sold on Baltimore yet. Really, from what we've seen, everybody's still going back to what we thought before the season. But I don't think this is the same Ravens team we thought it was at the beginning of the season. I think the Vikings are a very resilient team with a very good head coach and a good defense. They play physical. I just like them in this game.
Very interesting game here. The Vikings defense looked incredible last week. It hadn't looked like that all season. No, so I take that back. In a couple of weeks. And I wonder if their confidence, Van Ginkel was one of the, I think just maybe having McCarthy back gave the whole team more confidence because he's the best quarterback to have on that roster. It's certainly possible. Did you see that the Van Ginkel get hit by St. Brown?
Yeah.
On the chip block? Okay. I think St. Brown and him just collided. I don't think it was on purpose because it was a screen to that side of the field. You would never chip a defensive end to the same side of a screen. That would be crazy. I think it's just a weird play. It looked like it was on purpose, but Marty, I don't think it was at all on purpose.
No, I don't either.
And that'd be a penalty too if it was, because you can't come in like that and crack a defense. I certainly like to watch it. It was fun. I think we should do more of that to defensive ends. But normally that's not allowed. And I think it was a complete, Brown's trying to run off and get a defender to go with him. So when they pop that screen back out to the front side, hopefully it gives a good man zone read for the offensive line. It's very important in screens for us to know whether it's man or zone, and you can do that a couple different ways. One of them is motion. The other one is aligning the back and moving the back from side to side, noticing where the linebacker's at. So getting a man zone read on that is important for us to understand, because if it happens, if you run a screen against man coverage, happens faster, right? Because the guy's right on, he's mirroring the back. You have to get out quicker. If it's zone, you don't have to get out as quick. So that kind of gives you an idea of why you might motion or move a little bit before screen passes. That was a complete accident. Sucks for him, but he took the brunt of that one right there. A couple other games I want to clean up before we get to a really big game I want to talk about. We have more time in our next segment here. The Panthers 5-4, hosting the 1-8 Saints. Panthers favored by 5.5, Marty. That feels like a big number for the Carolina Panthers. Are we believing what they're doing? Are we believing that this is a style of football that is not going to have the oops, we lost 40-9 against Buffalo, written all over? Is this a game where they're going to cover the 5.5?
I haven't gotten the Panthers right all year, so I'm the wrong one to ask. But I do think that they are really their trend is going up. Okay, and Bryce Young has won 4 straight games. Their offensive line, who Geoff, I've said this from the beginning. If you look at the individual parts, I'm not as impressed with the individual parts as I am with the way they are playing as a unit, and they are playing extremely well. And Bryce Young is their guy. I mean, he's playing extremely well. He's getting out of the pocket. He's showing the vision that I saw out of him coming out of college, being able to spot guys basically from the side of his head. That their defense, although it kind of goes up and down, I think their defense is well coached and is a very good defense. And I just think that the Saints always play hard, but they just lack talent right now. If I had to play this game, I would give Carolina 5.5. But when I do that, they usually don't win for me, so I'm going to stay off the game.
I don't get a lot of things right. We all miss from time to time, but I do have a tweet from March 12th, 2025, saying Rico Dowdle will be the surprising best free agent signing of that free agent class. I was right. He's been fantastic. Now he's right now a little beat up, so we'll see if he ends up playing this weekend. I'll talk more about the game next. I'll give you our best bets coming up next. GM Shuffle presented by DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
We're back on the GM Shuffle. One more time talking about the Week 10 matchups here. We'll give you our best bets at the end of the show here, Marty. One of mine will be in this game. I like the Tampa Bay Bucks here, -2.5 against New England Patriots. Patriots 7-2, Bucks 6-2. Bucks off a bye. The Bucks are getting healthy, Marty. It's a big deal for them in the offensive line. This is a big game for them off this bye. I believe the right tackle will be back for this game. Tristan Wirfs has been back. And they got embarrassed against Detroit their last time out. This is a great spot for them to be refreshed, to feel a little bit of something off that loss, to be confident with their guys coming back off injury. And look, New England sort of due, I think, for a clunker, Marty. They've been on this heater right now of winning a lot of games. They've won some of these games close. Last weekend was pretty ugly against the Falcons. They got home in the end on a missed PAT, but they had a chance in that game to go up by 3 scores and fumbled. I think Tampa Bay's defensive line in this game will have something to say. And I think that Tampa Bay is primed for a nice game off of bye. Again, this is really not best way to handicap games, but New England, they've won 6 in a row, man. Like, they have not played a Tampa Bay on the road yet. So I like Tampa Bay to win this game. And it might get a little ugly, Marty.
Yeah, I think it's a defensive game. And one thing Drake May has done on this six-game winning streak is take care of the ball, right? Well, Todd Bowles is going to do everything he can to try to confuse him. He's still only a second-year quarterback, no matter how well he's been playing. And I think the key here is Buccaneers defense forcing turnovers and rattling May with the pressure from the defensive line that you mentioned. So I think Tampa with the bye week is going to come out very strong. And I just think that they're too strong on both sides of the ball for a New England team that's very good right now. But I just think turnovers being a key, it always is. I'd see Tampa Bay coming out and turning the ball over a couple times, making New England turn the ball over a couple times.
Yeah, obviously if they do that, I think you feel pretty good. Tampa Bay, I feel is sort of forgotten about. We have Seattle and Philly on top of that of the NFC. They're right there, Marty. They're 6-2. Like they're right there at the top of the division, at top of the NFC standings with their NFC South schedule. It feels like a team that we're not giving enough credit to. Are we ignoring Tampa Bay as a potential team at the top of the NFC?
I think look at it. I think that all these teams with recycled quarterbacks, the recycled first rounders, whether it's Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, I think we're reluctant to buy into them, but they're in the right spot. This business is about fit. They are in a spot that they fit. They're playing well. They were taken high for a reason, so they obviously have talent. Now they're with teams that have fits, and we tend to dismiss them and overlook them, and go to the Josh Allens and Patrick Mahomes, so rightfully so. But these guys are playing well, and I think Baker Mayfield, 3-4 weeks ago, I thought he was in the running for MVP. So we are the Bucs are overlooked. I also think it has something to do with the division because people don't think the division is very good. But Todd Bowles is an excellent coach, and this is a physical team that has a blueprint how to win games.
Speaking about winning games, it feels like the Lions are going to win against the Commanders this weekend. This game is in Washington, but a couple of things here with this one, Mark. This number 7.5 now. It's gone big. It might get to 8.5 or 9 by the time kickoff on Sunday, as more public money rolls in here on the Lions. But when the Lions want to avenge a loss, they do it in pretty big style. And last year in this game in Detroit, the Commanders embarrassed them. Even Jane Daniels was playing. The Lions a lot in this game, especially coming off that performance against the Vikings. But now you have no Jaden Daniels, no Terry McLaurin. Your offensive line in Washington still a tad beat up. They got guys back, but like how healthy are they really? Right, Marty? This feels like a giant letdown spot for Washington, right? You just gotten Jaden Daniels back. You felt like you had an opportunity to make some ground up. You get blown out, and he gets hurt. I think the Lions, this could get ugly, Marty. Am I wrong for thinking that?
No, I think the speed on the offensive side of Detroit is just going to be something the Commanders can't handle. Washington is old on the defensive side of the ball. It's trying to think of a nicer way to put it, but they're old and they really don't have a lot of speed on that side of the ball. And I don't see how they're going to cope with the Jahmyr Gibbses and the Amon-Ra St. Browns. I just don't see how they can do it. And I think that Detroit puts up a lot of points against them and win pretty handily.
And Marshawn Lattimore out, right, for the Commanders as well. So one less secondary piece for them to compete in this game. Marty, a fascinating game in San Francisco between the Rams and the 49ers. Remember, a couple Thursdays ago, the Niners went into Los Angeles as a mash unit, right? A bunch of guys out. They won that game. They had a big fumble at the end. The Rams could easily win the game 27-20. Instead, they fumbled. Niners come back, kick a field goal. They win the game here. Still a bunch of injuries for the 49ers, Marty. We don't know who's playing quarterback yet. We don't know if the wide receivers are healthy. This number is 4.5. Rams are by 4.5 here. Rams playing good football, obviously off a pretty big win and an easy one against New Orleans here. What do you like in this game?
Boy, that's a tough one. I was really flirting with taking San Francisco in the 4.5 because that these are always close games. I just can't do it, Geoff. I think the Rams and the Eagles, to me, are the two best teams in the AFC right now. And Matt Stafford is playing at an MVP level. Puka Nacua is back. I think that the Rams are Sean McVay teams really start playing well in November, December. As much as I respect Kyle Shanahan and what he's done with this 49ers team, I think they've had too many injuries. And I just think the Rams are too good. I'm not really willing to give the 4.5 in this game because it's always close, but I can't take the 49ers either.
Yeah, this division series, by the way, have been dominated by the Rams till Thursday Night Football. So they've had their number. Matt Stafford is doing some really, really good things right now. Look, it's funny,
Oh, yeah.
you entered the season with him with that back injury. We talked about it a lot. Like, is he going to play? He's thrown for 2,100 yards, completing 67% of his passes, 7.8 yards in average, 21 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Puka Nacua has been great. Devontae Adams has been a good addition for them as well. One guy, Terrence Ferguson's coming on strong. Oregon tight end, I thought would do good things for them. So they're playing some good ball right now. Marty, Sunday Night Football is really fascinating. Steelers at the Chargers. Steelers are getting 3 points here. Steelers have won 2 games this year with their voodoo, the Mike Tomlin voodoo. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he does the voodoo, Marty, but 5 turnovers forced and win against New England. 2 of those at the end zone. 6 turnovers forced last weekend. What is Pittsburgh, man? I don't know. I don't know what they are, Marty. What do we get from Pittsburgh in this game?
What Steeler defense is going to show up? And I'll tell
Correct.
you who I like, right? I mean, they have really been so inconsistent. And, the Chargers offensive line obviously is an issue. And can the Steelers get the pressure with a 4-man, 5-man rush that they did last week? That's going to be the key. They couldn't get to Jordan Love the week before when they were blitzing everybody. So if they can get pressure on Justin Herbert, I think they have a chance to win this game. But they've kind of been Jekyll and Hyde so far with their defense. And it really comes down to, can the Chargers offensive line protect Justin Herbert enough to stand back there in the pocket? And I don't have the answer to that. The Steelers play like they did last week. The answer is probably no.
I mean, Cam Hayward looked like he was a just wonder in that game. He beat Quentin Nelson a couple of times. I like Justin Herbert. Look at DraftKings right now, over 23.5 rushing yards in this game. With their offensive line beat up, that's something he has to do a little bit more now. So that's something that I would add there as well. We'll talk more about this game on Monday, but I love Philly plus 2.5 against the Packers, Marty. That's my first read on Philly against Green Bay on Monday night.
Me too. I agree. And, we said Monday. I just think something's wrong with the Packers offense. And until I see something different, I would have to stay away from them. I think Philly, listen, just the trade deadline and the things they did, the 3 trades they made, which all made sense. They're just a cohesive organization that they went through some bumps early. They've only got 2 losses, but people are always criticizing, the offense coordinator, and is the offense in sync, and A.J. Brown. Listen, they're hitting their stride, and they come into the season looking at one thing, and that's winning a Super Bowl championship. So I think that the Eagles are back on track. I think they're going to start playing some of their best ball, and something's just missing with the Packers right now to me. I might be wrong, but I just did not what I saw the other night.
I agree with you there. Let's get to our best bets now, Marty. What's your best bet of the week?
Well, we talked about the game, but I really like the Vikings. I think that that they came in, they played extremely well. Now, it was a division opponent and somebody they know, and they played Detroit tough last year in the last game and then of the season, and then lost before Detroit went and lost to the Commanders in the playoffs. But I just think that J.J. McCarthy gives them another element with their legs. I do think it's important if Aaron Jones plays. I think that's going to be a big plus. And I like him given the getting 4.5 points. I just like him giving 4.
This will be a game I'm really fascinated to watch. I don't have anything on this game, but I'm curious here. I like a couple of them. I like a prop, Marty. I've wagered on the tight end facing the Dolphins for weeks on end now. And it has been a wager that's cashed nearly every week. So Dalton Kincaid over 40.5 receiving yards right now on DraftKings. That has been, again, Kyle Pitts went over 2 weeks ago, likely went over. The Browns, I believe, went over a few weeks back. It's been something that's been, Fana had 36 in that game. It's been something that's just been a real money winner for you. Even going a couple Gas in the second had 68 yards a month ago against them. So they can't guard tight ends. The other one I mentioned earlier, I love Tampa Bay here, laying the 2.5 against New England. Good spot for them off a bye. New England's sort of due for, I think, an NFL game where you're hot and all of a sudden you're not. And so I look to Tampa Bay there. If you like this show, please give us a rating, a review, subscribe on YouTube. It's very easy. It's free. Just hit that subscribe button. Also, we have a show on Monday. We'll recap Week 10 action. We'll preview Monday Night Football a little bit more on that as well. And our Thursday show twice a week for you guys. Really appreciate all the feedback that we get on the show. Enjoy the games this weekend. We'll talk to you guys on Monday.